I'm now going to just basically start the winding up of this conference, which has been absolutely amazing, really, really interesting. I'm going to start with Taleb, please. Taleb, would you perhaps tell me and tell us what your takeaway points are from this conference and how you hope the future will pan out?
Thank you so much, Rajan. You've done a great job, all of us. I think it's been a great, great day. I know many of you have been sitting there for a long time, but it was worth it. Believe me, it was. I want to take 2 steps backwards a little bit, if you don't mind. Not going to talk just about tourism. I'll talk about the whole issue of Corona. What has it done to our world? Because I think what Edelman and McKenzie did, it's a very, very important job, especially Edelman when you talk about trust. Unfortunately, now governments are each on their own. Every country is on its own. We're starting our bottom-up approach to try to rebuild the international system, because the world cannot live without an international system. But the current state of affairs of the world is not really working anymore. I completely believe that the new world is going to be different. It's going to be better, fairer. Now, look at what's happening in the United States and in Europe. This system that is now called the capitalist system, for all what that may mean, is now in a crisis, truly. I think what happened with George Floyd is not a coincidence. The fact that it coincided with Corona is opening up so many wounds. So basically, the world system is being uncovered. That's what's happening in the world today. I completely believe in this. Now, Korea, on the other hand, did a great job. And I see the sign behind Madame Do saying, "Good job, Korea." I completely agree with that. Why? Because the Koreans have been serious about their lives before. So what I'm saying is not just an issue of tourism. It's an issue of how you see life altogether. You can't have double standards in this world. That's what this world is all about now. So the old system is falling apart. Now, I don't want to be the pessimist here at all. I'm a very optimist person. I think things will get worse before they get better, for sure. They will get better. They will get much, much better. Now, why am I saying this? Because the issue of trust is a very, very important and crucial issue. Now, how do we connect that with tourism? You know, remember the ashes, Icelandic ashes a few years ago, when the world stopped traveling, airlines stopped traveling in Europe. That did not just limit itself to Europe, it affected the whole world. Today, we have 10 times more than the Icelandic ashes. The world has not woke up yet to the impact of that on its lives. I think this has been an advantage because for the first time, there's an acknowledgement of travel and tourism as an industry in the whole world. Governments and politicians, everybody's talking about travel and tourism now. Travel has become a very important aspect of our lives because we've been hit in it. You only take value of things and you're deprived of them. Now, it's a battle that I have been fighting for a long period of time. The recognition of travel and tourism as an industry has been very, very important. It has not been yet recognized. I think this will put it back on track now. That's number one. But number two, which is even more important, is the fact that when each country works alone now, countries are left on their own to make bilateral agreements. These bilateral agreements will eventually build a system that would create a new world order. I completely believe that's the case. Now, to go back to travel and tourism, we've been talking about how much impact travel and tourism has been doing on this world. Nobody felt it until now. So it's one good thing that came out of this crisis. The second good thing is the domestic tourism that many of you have been talking about. The domestic tourism is much more than just people traveling to try and create some economy. Actually, if you think about it, domestic travel does not bring in hard currency, it does not help in the balance of trade, but it does keep facilities open, it does keep jobs open, it does create an impact. But the more important part of the economic part is the political part. Travel inside your country, you love your country more. We have not been traveling inside our countries, not the developing countries at least. The developing world, United States and Europe, 70% of the travel is domestic. In developing countries, it's no more than 10, 15, 20% at best. Now we need to reverse this, not because it's only economically the only option we have, but because out of principle, I completely believe a country that's not enjoyed by its own people cannot and should not be enjoyed by anybody else. Our people should travel in our own countries first. We should get to know our countries better. Then we can start receiving from the region. Then after that, we start seeing people from outside of our region. It's a natural progression. The developed world has gone through that, but we have not. When I say we, I mean the developing world. I come from Jordan. Jordan is a very good country, very good an example of that. Although it's quite a developed country in many aspects, it's still a developing country. And now to shift to domestic tourism is a challenge. Don't just say, I'm going to change from this aspect. Getting into domestic tourism means a completely new set of mind, changing set of minds. Yesterday, I was with the African Tourism Board discussing the issue of domestic tourism in Africa. And somebody called Mary, a fine lady, presented a paper on that. She said, look, when you speak to our young people, you don't speak to them in English, you speak to them in their own language. When you want to promote domestic tourism, you have to think a different way, completely. It's not just the language, it's the way you communicate with them. The packages you arrange, what type of tourism it is. It's not all leisure. Leisure is not every part of tourism. You know, the definition of tourism now, as acknowledged by the world, is an economic definition. It's not a typological definition. In other words, if you travel from one place to another, spend the night at least, 24 hours, you spend money that you did not earn in the place where you're visiting, you're a tourist, regardless of who you are, what you're doing. You can go for medical tourism, you can go for educational tourism, go for business tourism, go for sports tourism, you could go for visiting friends and relatives, mice, that's all kinds of tourism is there. It's not just leisure, although we're concentrating so much on leisure nowadays, simply because that's what the Europeans are looking for. I'm sorry, I can't open. Yeah, thank you so much. Good. Now, sorry. Yes, please.
That's okay. I think we're being told to get to conclusion because we've actually overreached. But is Simon there?
Yes, Simon is there.
Excellent. Simon,
yes.
I wonder if you can tell us then about, well, to say some farewell words and tell us about WTM in November.
Yeah, certainly. Before closing this incredible summit today, I would like to say a few words. During this difficult global crisis, the travel and tourism and hospitality industry has been hugely impacted, as we've heard today. And we know that we want to get back to business. At WTM London, we're staying focused on the future of the travel industry, and we will be waiting to welcome you between Monday the 2nd November and Wednesday the 4th November at Excel London. So let's get back to the business at WTM London for the love of the industry in a safe, responsible and sustainable manner. I'd also like to paraphrase something that Gloria Guevara, CEO WTTC, said earlier here today. She said, the time to invest in travel and tourism is now. The industry is extremely resilient and will recover. It's just about. So if I may, I'll make her words mine. I would also like to share with you the dates for the WTM portfolio of shows, because there has been some changes, as you would expect. So there have been some changes. WTM Latin America is still looking to go ahead in October in Sao Paulo, 20th to the 22nd. WTM Africa is looking to take place 7th to the 9th of April in 2021. And Arabian Travel Market is now looking to take place 16th to the 19th of May in 2021 as well. And of course, we will be looking to welcome you to WTM London and Travel Forward from the 2nd to the 4th of November at Excel London. And if also you allow me to, please do also visit our WTM Global Hub that we started over a month ago now, where we provide the industry with a wealth of information, advice and support. And you can see that at hub.wtm.com. So that just leaves me to say a huge thank you to everybody, particularly to ITIC, and to stay safe and look forward to seeing you all in person, hopefully, at Excel London, at WTM London.
Thank you.
Thank you, Simon.
Thank you, Simon.
I echo that. I want to be there in person. I want to physically see people. In fact, I don't think you can see me right now because I think I'm making switched off. But let me just leave the fun. Thank you so much. And yes, I will see you in November, hopefully. And before we all leave, let me hand you over to Ibrahim, Ayoub, who has basically organised this whole ITIC conference, just to finish with some final words. Ibrahim. Or maybe he's not even there.
Ibrahim, no, he's there. He's there, Ibrahim. You're muted.
Not the old mute thing again.
Yes.
So that's a new normal. We're trying to get used, to virtual conference.
Yeah.
Yes, Ibrahim, final words.
Okay, thank you so much, Rajan. You have been great today, like all the other moderators and speakers. Peter Greenberg, Jan Golding, all of you have been fantastic. Right, I would like to thank all the panelists for their full engagement, namely the ministers, Balala from Kenya, Minister Bartlett from Jamaica, Minister Shweike from Jordan, MEP Elena Kutura, so pronouncing it well, also the Prince Abdulaziz bin Nasser, Abdulaziz Al Saud from Saudi Arabia, right? All our global industry leaders who of no doubt have shed lights to the future of travel and tourism industry. I would like to also to thank our supporting partners for their unflinching support. Gloria Guevara of WTTC, who has given great insight today. Alain Saint-Ange, president of ATB, and eventually the next president of Seychelles, right? Is running for presidency. The Resilience Council and Rebuilding Travel. Last but not least, my chairman, Dr. Taleb Rifai, the godfather of the global travel tourism industry, the board of directors of ITIC, Gerald Lawless, Philip Cash, Paul Hoskins, as well as my team of ITIC and Daiichi UK and Mauritius, and also digital events, who has been behind the scene, and my team to put up this summit successfully, right? Last but not least, to the fruitful partnership with WTM, which have worked out beautifully since last November. And also last week, we had a wonderful ATM virtual, where we had a successful session with great speakers. We are also continuing this wonderful, like Simon said, this wonderful session, partnership with WTM, our next conference in London on the 30th and 31st October, to continue this conversation for sustainable investment in travel and tourism post-COVID-19. But before that, we will hopefully be in Bulgaria in September for ITSC in Bulgaria for the whole Southeast Europe. Thank you so much, and stay positive and stay tuned. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.